Title: Omenex. The glow of the TV flickered across the dimly lit room, casting shifting shadows against the walls. Riley's house was quiet, aside from the low hum of a half-forgotten horror movie playing in the background. Kira stretched lazily on the couch, phone in hand. "All right, who's next?" Mia, sitting cross-legged on the floor, smirked. "Not it." Sienna rolled her eyes. "Coward." Riley leaned back in her chair, exhaling. "We're seriously still doing this?" A silence settled between them, because they already knew the answer. They had no choice. Sienna sighed, shaking her head. "I'll take it." Mia glanced up sharply. "Are you sure?" Sienna shrugged. "Yeah, we've got the system now. As long as we pass it, it resets. No big deal." Riley didn't look convinced. "That's what we think." But Sienna was already tapping her screen. The red loading bar pulsed. New host, Sienna. Her phone vibrated. The app's emblem glowed, a black eye smooth and cold, etched into a crimson void. The pupil rippled slightly, like something was watching from beneath the surface. Sienna smirked. "There, no big deal." But her screen stayed blank. No task, no prompt, just the swirling eye staring back at her. Mia swallowed. "Why is it taking so long?" No one had an answer. Sienna pulled her hoodie tighter around herself as she stepped onto the sidewalk, the night air crisp against her skin. "Later, losers," she called over her shoulder. "Text us if anything weird happens," Kira said, half joking, half not. Sienna just smirked. "Please, I invented weird." She turned away, hands stuffed in her pockets, the city quiet around her. The streetlights buzzed softly, stretching her shadow long and thin across the pavement. Then her phone buzzed. She pulled it out, expecting the first task. Task: say your name out loud. Sienna rolled her eyes. "Sienna." Her phone vibrated. "Task complete. You're safe." She exhaled through her nose, shaking her head. This was too easy. She kept walking, but the streets felt emptier than before, like something was waiting, watching. Sienna walked, the cold air nipping at her skin, hands deep in her hoodie pockets. The first task was done. Easy. Nothing to worry about. She told herself that, but the moment the streets emptied around her, the memories started creeping in. She had been the first. Back then, she refused to bend to some stupid app. When it told her to spin in a circle, she ignored it. When it told her to hum a song, she locked her phone. Then the scratches started. Tiny, at first. Thin red lines appearing overnight, like she had brushed against something sharp. Then burns, bruises, a black eye she couldn't explain. Then the bite deep, human, like something had pressed its teeth into her flesh while she slept. And that was when she broke. She obeyed. But the tasks got worse. Say your name for 5 minutes in the mirror. Her reflection had started moving wrong. Spin around 100 times in the front yard. She collapsed on the grass, stomach heaving. But she couldn't stop. And when she did refuse, the pain was unbearable. Her eyes burned like fire. Her skull felt like it was splitting in half. Her heart felt like it was being stabbed again and again and again. So she begged. She cried for someone to take it, but no one would. Until Riley, watching her choke on her own screams, grabbed her phone and accepted the transfer. And just like that, everything reset, or at least for a while. Sienna took a slow breath. She wasn't afraid now. She had the system figured out, but as she reached the end of her street, her phone buzzed again. Task. Say your name again. Her stomach twisted. It had never done that before. Sienna's fingers tightened around her phone. She knew better than to ignore it. Her throat felt dry as she swallowed. "Sienna," she muttered under her breath. Her phone buzzed. Task complete. "You're safe," she exhaled, forcing her shoulders to relax. Then, whispers, soft, crawling along the night air. "You didn't listen." A shiver ran down her spine. Her eyes darted toward the street, scanning the empty sidewalk. Nothing. It was just her nerves. The wind, a trick of the mind. She turned back to the door, hand gripping the knob. And then, a voice, low, guttural, rotten. "Kill her." Her stomach twisted violently. She spun around. Nothing. The night stretched silent and empty. Her breath came faster now. Shaking, she ripped the door open, stepping inside quickly, slamming it shut behind her. The lock clicked into place. The house was warm, safe. But her hands were still trembling, and she couldn't shake the feeling that something had followed her inside. Sienna? Her mom's voice made her jump. She turned to see her standing in the hallway, brow furrowed, a dish towel draped over her shoulder. The soft glow from the kitchen light made her look tired but concerned. "You okay?" her mom asked, studying her. "You look pale." Sienna forced a small laugh, shaking her head. "Yeah, just tired." Her mom didn't look convinced. "Are you sure? You're shaking." Sienna curled her fingers into fists, forcing her hands to stay still. "It's nothing, Mom, just cold outside." Her mom exhaled, rubbing her arm gently. "All right, well, get some sleep, okay? No staying up all night on that damn phone." Sienna smirked. "No promises." Her mom chuckled, rolling her eyes as she turned back to the kitchen. Sienna stood there a second longer, listening to the soft clink of dishes. Then, without another word, she headed upstairs. Her room was dark. Still, she shut the door. Her phone buzzed. She already knew what was waiting. Sienna shut the door behind her, the familiar silence of her room settling around her. She stood there for a moment, her breath slow, controlled. Then, her phone buzzed. She already knew what was waiting. The screen flickered, the Omenex emblem pulsing like a heartbeat. Then, a message. "No more cheating." Her stomach twisted. Another buzz. She paused. "You think I forgot?" Her fingers clenched around the phone. A slow creeping unease crawled up her spine. Another message. "You broke the rules." She swallowed hard, her throat dry. The app had never spoken like this before. It was angry. Time to go back to where it started. And then, the pain. White-hot agony slammed into her chest. Her vision blurred as she doubled over, choking, gasping. Her ribs cracked like invisible hands were crushing her from the inside, burning, stabbing, tearing. Every wound, every punishment from the past, all at once. Her body seized violently, her mind screaming as she collapsed to the floor. Her phone buzzed again. Through the haze of pain, she forced herself to look. A new message. Say the words. The chant. She had seen it before. The strange, shifting symbols. The words that didn't belong to any language she knew. She had never said them. Until now. Her hands trembled. Her skin felt like it was splitting apart. Her eyes burned, like something inside her was trying to crawl out. She bit down on a scream. Say them or die. She couldn't take it anymore. Through ragged breaths, she gave in. Her lips moved and she whispered the words. Ila torva rishmena silistrant nor vinai Omenex val nora. The moment the last syllable left her lips, the pain vanished. She collapsed onto her bed, chest heaving, sweat slicking her skin. Her vision cleared. Her heart slowed. It was over. Her phone buzzed one last time. She looked down. You belong to me now. Then, kill your mother. A knock at the door. Sienna? The next day, late afternoon, the sun hung low, stretching long shadows across the schoolyard. Riley stood with her arms crossed, chewing the inside of her cheek. Kira was glued to her phone, tapping furiously. Mia just kicked at the pavement, shifting her weight. None of them had spoken in the last 5 minutes, because none of them had heard from Sienna all day. Nothing. Kira muttered, locking her phone. No texts, no calls, nothing on her socials. Mia exhaled sharply. She always shows up, even when she's sick. Riley's fingers curled into a fist. Sienna wasn't the type to disappear. Kira scoffed. Maybe she's skipping. She probably thinks she's above school now. Or some shit. Riley shook her head. Then why wouldn't she at least text us? Silence. Mia swallowed. You don't think... She didn't finish the sentence. None of them wanted to. Riley exhaled slowly. We should go to her place. Kira nodded. Yeah, just to check in. But all 3 of them knew this wasn't just checking in. This was fear. They weren't sure what they were going to find. Together, they turned toward the parking lot, heading straight for Sienna's house. The walk up to Sienna's front door felt heavier than it should have. Riley, Kira, and Mia stood on the porch, exchanging uneasy glances. It was quiet. Too quiet. No signs of struggle, no cops, no blood, just the soft hum of a TV inside, the glow of warm lights spilling through the curtains. Mia exhaled. Maybe we're overreacting. Riley didn't answer. She just knocked. A few seconds later, footsteps. The door swung open, and there she was, Sienna.
Smiling, like nothing happened. Jesus, you guys look like you've seen a ghost, she teased, leaning casually against the door frame. Mia let out a breath she hadn't realized she was holding. You're alive? Sienna snorted. Last time I checked. But something was off. Not wrong, just different.
She looked rested, too rested. Her skin glowed, the dark circles under her eyes gone. Her posture was too easy, too confident, and her eyes, they were brighter, sharper. Riley noticed it first, the way Sienna stood, the way she moved, fluid, effortless, like she was lighter than air. Kira frowned. Where the hell have you been? We were freaking out. Sienna sighed, leaning against the door frame. The app made me ditch school. Riley's stomach twisted. What? Sienna shrugged like it was no big deal. Woke up to a task. Don't go to school today. And it wouldn't let me use my phone or laptop. Kira scoffed. Okay, so now it's just letting people skip class? What kind of horror app is this? Sienna smirked. A generous one? That didn't sit right. Mia shook her head. That's weird. Sienna shrugged. I don't make the rules, dude. All I know is I feel great. And she did. That was the worst part. She wasn't scared. She wasn't on edge. It was like she had never had the app at all. Riley's fingers itched with unease. Then, Sienna's phone buzzed. She didn't react. She just slipped it from her hoodie pocket casually like it was just another notification. Her screen flickered. A message appeared. Task. Send the app to Riley. Sienna smiled, slipping her phone back into her pocket like it was nothing. Guys, she said smoothly, eyes flicking between them. Just do what the app says. I swear, it's not that bad. Riley narrowed her eyes. Sienna... No. Listen. Sienna cut in, stepping forward slightly. Her voice was too calm, too logical. You guys act like it's some big, evil thing, but think about it. We've been fighting it this whole time. What if we just stopped? Kira scoffed. Because it literally hurts people. Sienna shrugged. Only when you disobey. I did everything it told me to do, and look at me. She spread her arms slightly, almost like she was showing off. I feel stronger. I feel better. No more fear, no more stress, no more punishment. Just do what it says, and I swear things will be so much easier. The silence that followed was thick. Mia shifted uncomfortably. Kira looked at Riley, waiting for her to say something. Riley finally exhaled, shaking her head. You don't believe that. You're just saying what the app wants you to say. Sienna's smile didn't waver. She tilted her head slightly, her voice dropping just enough to sound persuasive. Then why do I feel so good? Riley hesitated. That's when Sienna turned to her directly. So, who's next? Riley. Riley tensed. She was about to say yes, about to step forward, about to take it. But Mia spoke first. I'll do it. Riley turned sharply. Mia. I've had it the least, Mia said, firm, logical. It's only fair. She looked at Sienna. Give it to me for the night. Sienna didn't hesitate. Her phone buzzed. She glanced down. A new message flickered across the screen. You may send it to Mia. Sienna exhaled slowly. She tapped her screen. A red loading bar pulsed. New host. Mia. Mia's phone buzzed. She pulled it out, staring at the screen. Then she smirked. Relax, guys, it's fine. We've been doing this for weeks. She looked at Sienna. Right? Sienna smiled. Yeah. The group lingered outside for a few moments, the night air cool against their skin. Mia was already on her phone scrolling through Omenex like it was nothing. All right, she said, slipping it into her pocket. I'll see you guys tomorrow. Sienna smirked. See, nothing to worry about. Riley didn't say anything. Mia waved and started walking off in the opposite direction. Sienna stretched her arms above her head, exhaling. I should get inside. She turned, heading back toward her house without another word. Now it was just Riley and Kira. Riley glanced at Mia, watching her disappear down the sidewalk. Then she lowered her voice. Kira, something is really wrong. Kira folded her arms. Yeah, no shit. Sienna was talking like she just joined a damn cult. Riley ran a hand through her hair, exhaling. I know someone, she muttered. Kira frowned. What do you mean? Riley hesitated. She had never wanted to go down this road, but after tonight, they were out of options. I know a guy who might be able to help us, she said finally. I've never gone to him before because, well, he sells drugs, but he knows people, weird people, people who know shit about stuff like this. Kira raised an eyebrow. Wait, you think he can help stop this thing? Riley hesitated, then she nodded. Kira rubbed the back of her neck. Shit. Riley glanced toward Sienna's house. Don't say anything to her. She's acting too weird. Kira exhaled. Yeah, obviously. Riley turned back to Kira, her expression serious. And don't say anything to Mia either. Kira frowned. Why not? Riley's voice dropped even lower. Because she has the app right now, and that means it'll know what she knows. A slow realization hit Kira's face. Oh. They both stood there for a moment, the weight of it settling in. Then Riley exhaled sharply. I'll talk to him tomorrow. Kira nodded. Neither of them knew how deep this went, but they were about to find out. Mia shoved her hands into her hoodie pocket, phone clutched tight. The night air was crisp, the sidewalks empty. She wasn't scared, at least, that's what she told herself. But that wasn't true, was it? Not really, because when she first got the app, she had already seen what it could do. Sienna had tried to act tough back then, but Mia wasn't stupid. She saw the bruises, the burns, the scratches that ran deep down her arms. She remembered how Sienna winced when she moved, how her body shook when she thought no one was looking. That was enough for Mia. She didn't need to test it. She obeyed every task immediately, even when it made her look like an idiot, saying her name in the mirror for 5 minutes, spinning in circles in the backyard. It wasn't worth finding out what happened if she didn't. But then, one night, it had asked her to recite the chant. She refused. Then, the app gave her a choice. Kill your mother, or die. That's when she broke. She passed it off to someone else before she ever found out if it was bluffing. And now it was back. Her phone buzzed. She pulled it out, already knowing what was waiting. Task, jump 3 times. Mia exhaled. Okay, here we go. She jumped. Once, twice, 3 times. Her phone buzzed. Task complete. You're safe. She rolled her eyes. Then, another buzz. Task, spin in a circle 5 times. Mia stopped walking. Her stomach turned slightly. Why was it already giving her another one? She hesitated, but only for a second. Then she spun. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Her phone buzzed. Task complete. You're safe. Mia exhaled, shaking her hands out. It's fine. It's just making sure I'm still playing. Then, her phone buzzed again. Another task. Her breath hitched. She looked down. Task. Leave your phone on the ground and walk away for 5 minutes. Her blood ran cold. She had never gotten a task like this before. Mia licked her lips, glancing up the empty street. 5 minutes? She whispered. No way. She had never disobeyed before, but she wasn't about to leave her only way of contacting anyone on the ground in the middle of the night. She shoved the phone into her pocket and kept walking. Her phone buzzed again. Task failed. Mia stopped cold. Her stomach turned to ice. She had never seen those words before. Then, the pain came. A white-hot, searing pain tore through her thigh like a jagged blade slicing through muscle. Mia collapsed to her knees, gasping. She clawed at her leg. Nothing was there. No wound, no blood, but the pain was real. Her phone buzzed again. You think I'm playing? Mia's breath hitched. Her hands shook violently. Her phone screen flickered, twisting in unnatural patterns. Another task appeared. Task, walk home without speaking a word. Mia scrambled to her feet, heart hammering. Her legs still throbbed, but she forced herself forward. She kept her mouth shut and walked. Her phone buzzed when she reached her front steps. Task complete. You're safe. Mia exhaled sharply. The pain in her leg faded instantly, like it had never been there. She blinked. Her fingers tightened around the phone. She took a deep breath and stepped inside. Mia stepped quietly into the house, closing the door behind her with a gentle click. "Mom," she called softly, glancing toward the living room. "In here," her mom replied, voice sleepy and comfortable. Mia exhaled slowly, steadying herself. The TV flickered against the walls, low voices murmuring from the screen. Her mom was curled up in her usual spot on the couch, a blanket draped over her legs, half asleep, completely unaware. Her phone buzzed. Mia swallowed hard, pulling it from her pocket. Task. Break a glass in the kitchen. She hesitated for only a second, remembering the searing pain she'd felt moments ago. Without another thought, she moved quickly toward the kitchen, grabbed an empty glass, and let it fall. Crash. Her mom immediately sat up. "Mia." "What was that?" Mia quickly composed herself. "Sorry, Mom, it slipped. It's nothing. I'll clean it up." Her mom sighed softly. "Be careful, honey." "Yeah." "Sorry again," Mia called back, heart thudding heavily as she swept up the shattered glass. Her phone buzzed again. Task complete. "You're safe." She exhaled, momentarily relieved. Another buzz. Task turn off all the lights in the house. Mia hesitated, but this was still manageable, still harmless. She moved quietly through the house, switching off every light she passed, plunging each room into darkness. Her mom murmured softly, half asleep again, oblivious. Mia finished the last switch, the house now bathed in shadows. Her phone vibrated. Task complete. "You're safe." Mia swallowed, her throat dry. She waited, heart thudding, knowing another task was coming. Then, her phone vibrated again. Task. "Send Omenex app to mother's phone." Mia froze. Her breath caught in her throat. She read the task again, her stomach twisting violently. No way. She couldn't do that. She wouldn't. Her mom had no idea what this was. Her mom would never survive this. Mia's hands shook as she gripped her phone. She whispered, "No." Her phone buzzed. Task failed, then the pain hit. White-hot agony ripped through her chest, sharp and unforgiving. She doubled over, gasping, hands clutching at her ribs as the burning sensation spread like wildfire. Her vision blurred, her knees buckled. It felt like she was being stabbed, over and over and over. Her phone vibrated violently, flickering between static and black. A new message appeared. "There's another way." Mia's breath shook, then a new task. Task. Say the words below. A familiar string of twisted shifting symbols filled the screen. The chant. Mia's heart slammed against her ribs. No, not this. She had seen it before. She had almost said it before. She didn't know what it meant. None of them did. But then she remembered Riley's voice. "Just, whatever you do, don't say the chant. It can't be good." Riley had never explained why, but Mia trusted her. Her phone buzzed again. "Say it." Mia shook her head violently. "No." The screen flickered. A message appeared, the text twisting, stretching unnaturally across the screen. "Then kill your mother or die." Mia's hands went ice cold. She stared at the words. Her vision tunneling. The knife in her sleeve suddenly felt too heavy. A soft creak echoed from downstairs. Her mom shifted in her sleep, completely unaware. Mia clenched her jaw, her breathing ragged. She wasn't doing this. She wasn't. Her phone buzzed. A new message. Then, "You die." And the pain returned. The pain started slow, a deep dull ache in her ribs. Then it spread, burning, like something was crawling under her skin, clawing its way inside. Mia screamed. She collapsed onto the floor, writhing, convulsing. It felt like her body was turning against itself. Her throat closed, her lungs locked. Her ribs felt like they were splintering, snapping one by one. Her phone buzzed. Through the haze of pain, she forced herself to look. A new message. "Last chance." The screen flickered. The chant was still there. Omenex was offering her an out. She could say the words. She could join Sienna. Mia clenched her teeth, choking on her own breath. No, she wouldn't. The screen glitched violently. Then burn. Agony. A searing, inhuman heat erupted from inside her. Her skin boiled. Her veins burned. The air in the room grew thick, suffocating. She clawed at her arms, her legs, her stomach, anywhere, anything. but there was nothing there. Just fire. Fire beneath her skin, fire in her bones, fire in her mind. Her nails broke as she scratched herself raw. Her muscles locked, twisted in ways they weren't supposed to move. Her body was betraying her. Tears streamed down her face. She couldn't see. She couldn't breathe. She wasn't dying fast enough. Her phone vibrated again. A single message. "I warned you." And then, everything snapped. Her body arched violently, her mouth yawning open in a silent scream. Then, stillness. The pain was gone. Mia's body lay motionless on the floor. Her phone flickered once more. The screen glowed in the darkness. A final message. Host terminated. Selecting new host. The early morning sky was still a soft gray blue, the schoolyard nearly empty. Riley stood with her arms crossed, eyes darting toward the entrance. Kira rocked back on her heels, shoving her hands into her jacket pockets. Mia wasn't there. "She's never late," Kira muttered. Riley exhaled sharply. Yeah, they exchanged a glance. First Sienna. Now Mia. Something was definitely wrong. Riley's phone vibrated. She barely glanced at it, until she saw who it was from. Her stomach tightened. She swiped the message open. A message from Riley's mom. "Riley, I don't know how to say this. Mia's gone. Her mom found her this morning. It's bad." Riley's hands went cold. She stopped walking. Kira frowned. "What's wrong?" Riley couldn't speak. She just turned her phone toward Kira, letting her see the messages. Kira's face drained of color. A second later, she grabbed Riley's wrist. "Let's go." The street outside was quiet. Too quiet. Mia's house looked the same. Nothing seemed wrong. But the moment they got closer, Riley could see the way the curtains were drawn too tight, the way the front door was slightly open. Kira hesitated. "Do we just—" Then, Mia's mom appeared. She looked hollow, dark circles under her eyes, hair messy like she hadn't slept in years. The second she saw them, her expression broke. She pulled Riley into a hug, gripping onto her like she'd collapse if she let go. "Baby, I'm so sorry," she whispered. "I know you were close. I know she was your friend." Riley couldn't move, and Kira cleared her throat. How did it happen?" Mia's mom pulled back, rubbing her hands over her face. "I don't know," she murmured. I heard her get home last night. She was fine. She went straight to bed. I fell asleep on the couch." She swallowed hard. "And then this morning, I found her." Her voice cracked. She was just there, collapsed on the floor. Riley's stomach twisted, like she just dropped dead. Kira swallowed. "No signs of anything?" Mia's mom shook her head slowly. "No marks, no bruises, no signs of a struggle, nothing." Her voice dropped lower. It's like she just stopped. A silence hung heavy between them. Then, Mia's mom exhaled shakily. "The EMTs didn't know what to say. They didn't find anything. I'm waiting for the autopsy results." She rubbed at her face. "They don't know what killed her." Riley felt a cold chill spread through her body. They didn't know what killed her, because it wasn't something normal. Kira hesitated. "Where's her phone?" Mia's mom frowned slightly, glancing toward the stairs. I don't know." She blinked. "I swear she had it when she got home. I heard it buzzing, but when I found her, it was gone." Riley and Kira exchanged a look. Mia's phone was missing, and there was only one person who could have it now. The front door closed softly behind them, but the weight of the conversation followed. Riley and Kira walked in silence for a moment, the cold morning air pressing against their skin. Mia was gone. No explanation. No cause of death. Just gone. Kira exhaled sharply, rubbing the back of her neck. "So, that guy you know." Riley didn't answer right away. She had never wanted to go to him. But now, "Screw it," she muttered. "I'll catch a ride out to him. He lives kinda far, but I should be back in time for the meeting at Sienna's house tonight." And Kira nodded. "Good, 'cause we need answers." Then, her phone buzzed. She frowned, pulling it from her pocket. A notification. Her stomach dropped. Kira stared at her phone. The red loading bar pulsed. "New host." Kira. She exhaled sharply. No panic. No fear. Just acceptance. Guess it's my turn, she muttered. Riley turned, noticing the tension in Kira's voice. What? Kira held up her phone. Riley's stomach dropped. The screen flickered. A message appeared. Welcome back. Riley clenched her jaw. Damn it. Kira locked her phone and shoved it into her pocket. It's fine. Riley narrowed her eyes. Kira. No, really, Kira said. I'm not scared. We're not running anymore, right? This thing killed Mia. We're taking it down. Riley studied her for a moment. Then she nodded. How long do you think you can keep it satisfied? Riley asked. Kira sighed, rubbing a hand down her face. No clue, but I'll handle it. Riley exhaled sharply. Just don't try deleting it again. Kira snorted. Yeah, right. I remember what happened last time. A brief silence. Then Kira glanced at her. So, what's this guy's name? Riley hesitated. Then, Nate. His name's Nate. Kira nodded. And you think he can actually help? Riley sighed. Yeah, he sells weed to a bunch of weird guys that would know about stuff like this. He used to talk about them all the time to my sister and her boyfriend. Kira raised an eyebrow. Weird how? Riley shrugged. Like paranormal conspiracy theory, occult books, demon summoning, ghost hunting, all that kind of crap. I don't know if it's real, but if anyone would know something, it'd be one of those guys. Kira nodded toward the road. Go see him. I'm telling my parents. Riley blinked. You think they'll believe you? Kira shrugged. They have to. If I show them the app, they'll see it for themselves. Riley hesitated. Something about that idea felt wrong. But she didn't stop Kira. They locked eyes. This was it. They were done playing defense. They were fighting back. They parted ways. Riley off to find Nate, Kira heading home. Neither of them knew how badly this was about to go. Kira sat stiffly at the kitchen table, hands resting in her lap, phone face up in front of her. Her dad was still swiping at it, frowning at the unmoving Omenex logo. It's not doing anything, he muttered. It never does, Kira said flatly. Her mom walked back into the kitchen, frustration tightening her expression. She had a notepad in one hand and her phone in the other. I searched everything, she said, voice clipped. There's nothing about this app anywhere online. Kira expected that. Her mom exhaled sharply. I also called Dr. Michaels. He wants to see you. Kira's stomach tightened. She had expected that too. You think I need a shrink? She asked, keeping her voice calm, careful. Her dad sighed. Kira, we're worried about you. You're not leaving the house today, her mom added firmly. Not after everything that's happened. Kira tensed. I was supposed to meet up with my friends tonight, she said carefully. Her mom gave her a sharp look. After what happened to your friend Mia, she said, her voice laced with disbelief. And Sienna? She's been skipping school for the past few days. She folded her arms. Are you guys on drugs? Kira's chest ached. They didn't get it. They never would. This isn't about... Her mom cut her off, standing abruptly. Go to your room, Kira. Kira gritted her teeth, biting back her frustration. Then, her dad reached for her phone. Give me that, he muttered, the second his fingers touched it. A green electric jolt surged through his hand, not painful, not violent. But something changed. His expression shifted. His hand relaxed. Then, just as casually as he had taken it, he handed it right back to Kira. She should keep it, he said dismissively. She's old enough to have a phone, hun. It's fine. Kira's mom whipped around to glare at him. What? No, it's not fine. Her dad shrugged. It's just an app. Let her keep it. Her mom's face twisted in frustration. Are you serious? But he was already checking his email like nothing happened. Like he didn't even remember taking the phone. Kira didn't wait around. She grabbed the phone, pushed back from the table, and walked out. Her mother's voice chased after her. Kira. She kept walking. She climbed the stairs, each step feeling heavier. She was alone in this. Completely, totally alone. She shut her bedroom door. Her phone buzzed. A message. Not a task. A message. Nice try. Kira's fingers tightened around the phone. No one can help you. her vision blurred with frustration. Buzz. Answer me, Kira. She turned her phone face down. A few seconds passed. Then, her phone rang. The caller ID. Omenex. The call went to voicemail. A final message appeared. Answer next time, or I'll make you. Kira sat on the edge of her bed, clutching her phone tightly. Her parents thought she was crazy. Mia was gone. Sienna was acting weird. Riley was the only one left who understood. Her phone buzzed again. She didn't want to look, but she did. A new task. Stand in front of a mirror and say, I will obey Omenex for 30 minutes. Kira's chest tightened. Her grip on the phone turned white-knuckled. She knew what it was doing. It wanted her to break, to make her bend to it. Her reflection stared back at her from across the room, the mirror catching the dim glow of her bedside lamp. Her stomach churned. 30 minutes. Could she handle 30 minutes? The sting of isolation settled deep into her bones. She wasn't sure how much longer she could take this. Kira swallowed hard, stood up, and slowly walked toward the mirror. She opened her mouth and began. Riley sat in the back seat, arms crossed, staring out the window. The further they drove, the worse the neighborhood got. Nate didn't live in the city. He lived in the outskirts. The kind of place where streetlights flickered and half the houses looked abandoned. The car pulled up to a small, rundown house with paint peeling off the porch. Riley hesitated. This was a bad idea, but she had no choice. She stepped out, closing the door behind her, and watched as the car sped off, leaving her standing alone in the middle of nowhere. Riley took a slow breath, walked up to the door, and knocked. A few seconds passed. Then, a voice from inside. Who the hell is it? Riley rolled her eyes. It's Riley, Nate. Open up. There was a pause. Then, the sound of locks clicking. The door creaked open just enough for a pair of tired, bloodshot eyes to look out at her. Shit, Nate muttered. This must be serious if you're coming to me. He stepped back, opening the door wider. Get in. Riley stepped inside, expecting the place to smell ugly like sweat and regret. Instead, it was clean, not spotless, not neat, but way cleaner than a drug dealer's house should be. The walls were bare, the furniture mismatched. The coffee table had burn marks, and there was a half-dismantled vape pen next to a stack of crumpled cash. And, on the couch, Nate's girlfriend. She sat half-sprawled in the dark, her robe hanging slightly open, legs crossed, watching TV like Riley wasn't even there. A joint smoldered between her fingers, the smoke curling lazily in the dim light. She didn't say hi, didn't even look at them. Nate didn't seem to care. He shut the door behind Riley, locking it. Then, he turned to her. What brings you by, Riley? Riley hesitated. She didn't want to say it outright. Didn't want to sound insane, so she played it off. Just need help with some weird shit, she muttered. Nate raised an eyebrow, amused. Weird shit? Riley crossed her arms. The kind of shit no one knows about. The kind I don't even know if you would know about. She exhaled. But I was hoping you had a friend that did. Friend? Nate smirked. For what? She held his gaze. App curses. Nate's smirk vanished. For a moment, he just stared at her. Then, he grinned. I got something better than my crazy friends. He nodded toward the back of the house. Come on. I gotta show you something. The basement door was locked tight. Not just one lock. 3. Nate undid them one by one, glancing at Riley over his shoulder. I don't usually let people down here. He muttered. But you're family, kinda. Riley didn't respond. The last lock clicked and Nate pulled the door open, revealing a dark stairwell leading down. The air smelled off. Not like mold or dust. Something colder. He flicked on the light and Riley followed him down. The basement was bigger than she expected. It wasn't some dingy, unfinished pit. It was set up like an actual workspace. Shelves lined the walls, stacked with labeled jars, pill bottles, and Ziploc bags. A massive metal table stood in the center, covered in scales, baggies, and a sleek laptop. It was also professional, almost like a miniature pharmacy. Nate moved to the far side of the room, tapping a locked metal case. See, here's the thing, he said, opening it. Inside were more drugs. But he wasn't looking at those. He reached for a small black device. This AI I'm about to show you, he said, grinning. It's the reason I don't even gotta sell half this shit myself anymore. Riley frowned. What? Nate chuckled, shaking his head. Some guy I was selling to owed me a lot of money. Like, way too much. He pulled out the device, turning it over in his hands. When he couldn't pay, he gave me this. Riley stared. It was a small, sleek black box. No buttons, no logos, just a smooth curved surface. Nate tossed it onto the table, tapping his fingers against the metal. He said it was a clone of an AI model he stole from his company. Riley's breath hitched. Nate grinned. And man, after I saw what it could do, he whistled low. I was so impressed I started giving him drugs for free. Riley's stomach turned. What does it do? Nate sat down, drumming his fingers against the table. Everything. He leaned back. It expanded my operation overnight, told me exactly who to sell to, how much they'd pay, what corners were going to get raided. I don't make a single move without asking it first. His grin widened. Shit, I ask it about everything now. Then he looked at Riley, and I'm about to ask it about Omenex. Nate leaned forward, cracking his knuckles as he powered on the device. The sleek black box hummed to life, a soft blue glow pulsing beneath its surface. Riley sat stiffly across from him, arms crossed. She wasn't sure what she was expecting, but it sure as hell wasn't this. A smooth synthetic voice spoke from the laptop's speakers. System online, how can I assist you, Nate? Nate smirked. Got a question for you. The AI paused, then proceed. Nate shot Riley a glance before typing on the keyboard. One word, Omenex. The AI began processing. Lines of code flashed across the screen. The hum of the system grew louder. Riley felt the air in the room shift. A strange, low vibration, almost imperceptible, like the basement itself was holding its breath. Then, the screen glitched. The text warped, stretched, twisted. The glowing blue interface flashed red. And then, the AI stopped. Nate frowned. The hell? Riley leaned in. The screen flickered, pixels melting into static like something was trying to break through. Then, a new message appeared. Stop searching. Riley's breath hitched. Nate raised an eyebrow. Yo, what? He tried to type again, but the keyboard froze. The AI spoke again, but this time, the voice was different, shakier, scared. Nate, you need to remove her from this house. A chill ran down Riley's spine. Her fingers dug into her arms. What? Nate muttered, staring at the screen. What the hell are you talking about? The AI hesitated. Then the screen glitched violently. More text. Rapid. Frantic. Remove her. The lights in the basement flickered. A sharp, metallic whine filled the air, like the machine was in pain. Nate's smirk finally dropped. The hell is going on? Riley's hands curled into fists. Her heart was hammering. She didn't know why, but she felt it. Something was watching them. The screen froze again. The last message burned red against the static. It knows you're looking. A violent electric pop erupted from the laptop. The AI shut down. The room fell silent. Riley's breath came shallow and uneven. Nate ran a hand over his face, exhaling. Okay, he muttered. That was different. Riley swallowed hard, gripping the edge of the table. The machine hadn't told them what Omenex was. It hadn't told them how to stop it. It only told Nate to get rid of her. The air was thick. Riley could still hear the faint hum of the machine like it was thinking, struggling. Then Nate leaned forward, rubbing his hands together. All right, he muttered. Give us something to fight it with. The screen flickered violently. Then new text appeared. You cannot fight it. Nate's jaw clenched. Bullshit. You're telling me this thing can't be stopped? The screen glitched again. Then, you must imprison it. Riley's stomach tightened. Then something weirder happened. The printer in the corner of the basement suddenly whirred to life. Pages shot out violently, spitting paper like it was desperate. Nate and Riley both jumped back. The machine spat out at least 20 pages. Nate hesitated, then grabbed the top one. It was covered in symbols, strange flowing letters, nothing in English. But as soon as he touched it, the paper changed. The cheap white printer paper darkened, curled at the edges, turning into old parchment like something ripped from a wizard's book. Riley's breath caught in her throat. Nate held it up, turning it over. The hell is this? The AI hesitated. Then slowly it typed. This is an enchantment. It must be wrapped around the device currently holding Omenex. Riley's eyes widened. The machine continued. If done correctly, it will be enough to imprison the... It glitched violently. Then, finally, the last word appeared. Demon. The room fell silent. Nate and Riley stared at the screen. Neither of them spoke. Neither of them breathed. Then, the AI's blue glow flashed red again. New text. Urgent. Demanding. Get rid of her. Riley's stomach dropped. Nate's expression hardened. Wait. Riley started, but Nate grabbed her arm and shoved the paper into her hands. You gotta go, he muttered. Now. Nate! Now! He pushed her toward the stairs, his face unreadable. She didn't fight it. She could feel it, the tension, the fear creeping under his skin, whatever just happened, but it was too much, even for him. Riley stumbled up the stairs, out of the basement, and through the front door. The moment she was outside, the door slammed shut behind her. She stood there, breath uneven, the parchment still clenched in her hands. Nate was done with her. She could feel it. Inside, he was probably locking the doors, sealing everything up. He didn't want to be anywhere near this. Nate locked the basement door, pressing his back against it. The air was charged, electric. He could still hear the printer's mechanical whirring dying down. The AI's screen flickered. Then, finally, it spoke one last time. You should not have helped her. Nate ran a hand down his face. Yeah, no shit. A beat of silence. Then, the AI said, it might trace back to us. The lights flickered, and for the first time in a long time, Nate felt a chill crawl down his spine. Kira's parents sat in the living room, whispering. Her mom crossed her arms, lips pursed. She's been acting weird, she muttered. Her dad sighed. She's a teenager, they act weird. Her mom shook her head. No, really weird. She looked toward the stairs. I heard her earlier. Her voice dropped. She was saying her own name over and over. Her dad frowned. What? Her mom nodded. And before that, I swear I heard her pledging to that damn app. She rubbed at her arms. And jumping. I don't know what the hell she was doing, but I could hear her feet hitting the floor. Over and over. Her dad sighed. We should talk to her. Her mom swallowed. We should do something. The car ride service was taking its damn time. Riley slumped in the back seat staring out the window. The driver barely said a word. Just nodded when she got in. Muttered something about traffic, then turned up the radio. The car service was called Go Swift. Ironically, it was anything but swift. Riley sighed, pulling out her phone. She shot Kira a quick text. Kira, I just left Nate's. Heading to Sienna's now. Go Swift is taken forever, though. She watched the screen, waiting. Kira took a minute to respond. Then, Kira messaged back. Might not make it. I'm grounded. Riley exhaled. She messaged back. Seriously? No response. She frowned, typing again. Okay, just wait till your parents are asleep, then sneak out. Still nothing. Kira, she muttered under her breath, watching the chat. Then, the 3 dots disappeared, and Kira's name at the top of the screen vanished, like the conversation never existed. Riley's stomach dropped. Something was wrong. Kira sat on her bed, head tilted back against the wall. Her muscles ached, her legs were sore from jumping. Her throat was raw from speaking. She didn't even remember how many tasks she had done. Her whole body was screaming for sleep. Then her phone buzzed. Riley. She struggled to sit up, rubbing her eyes. She barely had the energy to text back. Might not make it. I'm grounded. A second later, her phone screen flashed red. The text conversation vanished. Then, the Omenex logo filled the screen. Deep red. Unmoving. Kira's breath hitched. She tried pressing the home button, tried locking the screen. Nothing. Her phone was stuck. Then a new message. Task. Sneak out and go to Sienna's house. Kira's fingers trembled. Her heart pounded against her rib. She knew what would happen if she ignored it. The pain. The punishment. And if she fought it too much. Her parents would find her unconscious again, maybe worse this time. Maybe the next time she woke up, she'd be in a hospital bed. Or a psych ward. She swallowed hard. She didn't dare refuse. Quietly, she grabbed her hoodie, slipped on her shoes, and crept toward the window. She had no choice. She was going to Sienna's house. The night air was cold against her skin. Kira moved quickly, her hoodie pulled up, hands tucked into the pockets as she made her way down the empty sidewalks. Sienna's house was just a few blocks away, but every step felt wrong. Her gut twisted. Not because she was sneaking out, but because she wasn't in control. Omenex had made the choice for her. She wasn't walking to Sienna's house. She was being led there. The thought made her stomach turn. Up ahead, the street was quiet. Sienna's house loomed in the distance, the porch light casting a dim yellow glow. Almost there. Kira's phone buzzed violently. She flinched, pulling it out. But it was still stuck. The red Omenex logo burned against the screen. The moment she stepped onto Sienna's block, the phone vibrated harder, like the app knew she was close, like it was anticipating something. Riley drummed her fingers against her knee, eyes locked on her phone. She had been checking Kira's messages. Nothing. Something was wrong. Her brain scrambled for ideas. Then she glanced at the enchanted parchment. The old, curled paper. The one thing they had against Omenex. A thought hit her. Quickly, she snapped a picture of it. She hesitated, then sent it to Kira, with a message that said, "Just in case." The message went through. A second later, her phone screen glitched. For half a second, the image of the parchment warped, stretching across the screen in unnatural shapes, like the phone itself was rejecting it. Riley's stomach dropped. Kira? Omenex glitches. Kira was 10 steps away from Sienna's house when her phone buzzed violently. Her screen flashed. A message appeared. "Riley sent you a photo." Her phone froze. Then, a green spark shot across the screen. Kira stumbled back, gasping as the phone twitched in her hand. The Omenex logo flickered. It distorted, glitching and warping. Then, the screen went black. For the first time since she got it, Omenex was gone. Kira's breath came fast, uneven. Her hands shook. She stared at the phone. The device was still warm in her hands, like it had felt something, like it had been burned. She swallowed hard. For the first time in a long time, she was free. At least, for now. Kira stepped onto the porch, heart still racing from what had just happened with her phone. For the first time in hours, she wasn't under Omenex's control. But that didn't mean she was safe. She reached for the doorknob. The door was unlocked. She pushed it open and froze. The house was different. Not just redecorated, completely transformed. Kira's breath hitched. She knew Sienna and her mom always argued about how the house should look. Her mom liked warm colors, soft lighting, old family pictures on the walls. Sienna, she wanted something different, something modern, cold, perfect. And now, it was exactly what Sienna had always wanted. Every inch of the house had been remade in her vision. The walls were pure black and gold, the floors polished so perfectly that Kira could see her own reflection in them. There were no family photos, no clutter, no warmth, just luxury. Like a high-end mansion had been built overnight. Kira took a slow step inside, trying to process it all. Then her eyes landed on Sienna, and her stomach dropped. She was stunning. Not just normal pretty. Unreal. Her skin glowed. Her hair shined, her posture oozed confidence. She wore an expensive black dress, the kind no high school girl should be able to buy. It was elegant, tailored to her perfectly, like it had been made for her, like it had been gifted to her. Sienna stood at the center of the room, arms crossed, smiling. Not a casual smile, a dangerous one. The kind of smile that belonged to someone in control. Kira barely had time to react before Sienna started talking. "You know, Kira." Her voice was smoother than Kira remembered, almost hypnotic. "You've been fighting so hard against it, against Omenex, against what it wants from you." She tilted her head, watching Kira like a teacher watching a slow student. "But let me tell you something." She took a step forward. "Obeying Omenex was the best thing I've ever done." Kira's jaw tightened. Sienna kept going. "You don't realize it yet," she said, voice dripping with charisma. "But this isn't a curse. It's a gift, a chance to become something more." She gestured at herself. "Do you see me, Kira? Do you see how much I've changed? She smirked. The bruises, the burns, the punishments, they don't happen when you listen. When you obey, she spread her arms. And when you fully embrace it, it rewards you. Kira's stomach twisted. Sienna laughed softly. It's funny, actually, all that fear, all that resistance, and for what? She took another step forward. Because in the end, Omenex doesn't take from you. Her smile widened. It makes you better. A long silence. Kira felt something cold crawl up her spine. She clenched her fists, then her voice was low, careful. Where is your mom, Sienna? Sienna's smile didn't move. Her expression didn't falter. But something in the air shifted, and for the first time since Kira stepped inside, it felt like she had just walked into a trap. Kira barely had time to process the silence before her phone vibrated violently in her pocket. She flinched. Then, green sparks shot across the screen. She ripped the phone out, staring in horror as it glitched violently, the screen warping, twisting between black, red, and that unnatural green. Omenex was fighting the enchantment, struggling. It was like watching a wounded animal claw its way out of a trap. The screen flickered. Then, a new message appeared. Not for Kira, for Sienna. Sienna's phone buzzed on the counter. She picked it up casually, flipping it over, reading the message. Kira watched her closely. For the first time since she arrived, Sienna's smile faltered. The screen flickered wildly, the text glitching, distorted. Then finally, it managed to send one last broken, unfinished message. KLLHR. Kira's breath hitched. Her stomach turned to ice. Sienna's eyes scanned the screen. She was smart. She didn't need the full message. She knew exactly what it meant. Her fingers twitched against the phone. Then, slowly, that perfect, eerie smile returned. She placed the phone down gently. Then, she looked at Kira. And for the first time, Kira realized exactly what kind of danger she was in. Sienna took a step forward. Her voice was soft, almost kind. You should have just listened, Kira. Kira's breath hitched. She could feel the shift in the air, like the house itself was closing in. Sienna took a slow step forward. Her hands were relaxed at her sides, but Kira's eyes flicked downward. Sienna's fingers were twitching, hovering near her thigh, like she was reaching for something hidden beneath her dress. Then, she spoke. You remember when it was just us? Her voice was soft, nostalgic, like they were just two old friends reminiscing. Kira didn't answer. Sienna smiled. When we were kids, before Riley and Mia, before everything. She took another step forward. You were my first real friend, Kira. Her voice lowered. And you always will be. Kira swallowed hard. Sienna's fingers brushed against her knee. Something thin, metallic, waiting. Her eyes never left Kira's. You and me, Kira, always. She took another step, another inch closer. Her fingers tightened around whatever was strapped to her leg, and Kira finally understood. She was about to die. Kira saw it too late. Sienna's fingers curled around the handle of something thin, sharp. She was pulling it from the strap against her leg. A knife. Shit. Kira's instincts kicked in. Sienna lunged forward, and Kira panicked. She shoved Sienna back, her hands slamming into her shoulders with everything she had. Sienna stumbled, but barely, not like a normal person. More like a predator humoring its prey. Kira's eyes darted around. Her hands found something on the counter. A glass vase. She swung. The vase smashed against Sienna's head with a sickening crack. Shards of glass rained down. Sienna froze. Kira staggered back, panting. Then, Sienna touched her head. Her fingers came back bloody. She blinked, looked at her fingers, then grinned. Her voice was playful. Ouch. Kira ran up the stairs, heart pounding. Sienna's footsteps were slow behind her, taunting, deliberate. She was in no rush. She didn't have to be. Kira's breath came ragged, uneven. Her mind screamed for a plan, any plan. The hallway stretched too long, too dark. She had seconds to choose a door. Her instincts made the decision for her. The bathroom. She lunged inside, slamming the door shut behind her. Click. Locked. She staggered backward, chest heaving. She needed to block it. Her hands scrambled to find something, anything, to push in front of the door. She turned.
and ripped open the linen closet. Something heavy, limp, fell forward, right on top of her. Kira screamed. The body collapsed against her, cold, lifeless. Hair brushed against her face. The smell of iron and perfume mixed in her nose. She shoved it away, scrambling backward, eyes wild. The corpse hit the floor with a sickening thud. The face rolled toward her, and Kira's stomach dropped. It was Sienna's mom. Her glassy, vacant eyes stared up at nothing. Her mouth frozen mid-scream. A deep slit ran across her throat, dry and dark. Blood stained the fabric of her robe. Kira's hands flew to her mouth, choking back bile. Outside, Sienna laughed softly. "Guess you found her." Tap, tap, tap. Her nails dragged against the door. "She wasn't a believer, Kira." Another soft laugh. "But you? You still have a chance." Kira's breath shuddered. Her body shook violently. This wasn't real. This couldn't be real. Then, her phone buzzed violently in her pocket. Green sparks glitched across the screen. Omenex was breaking free. The red logo burned against the glass. A message glitched into existence. "Say the words." Kira squeezed her eyes shut. Outside, Sienna's voice was closer now. Soft, playful. "Just open the door, Kira." Another tap, tap, tap. "Let's finish this." The swift ride finally pulled up to Sienna's house. Riley exhaled sharply, shoving the enchanted paper into her pocket as she stepped out. The car idled for a second, then sped off down the street. And then, she heard it. A scream. Kira's scream. Riley's blood ran cold. What the hell? Kira wasn't supposed to be here. She said she was grounded. She wasn't coming tonight, but that was her voice. And it was coming from inside the house. Riley didn't think. She moved. Her feet hit the pavement. Rushing forward, she grabbed the front door handle. It was unlocked. She shoved it open, stepping inside, and slammed it shut behind her. The house was eerily silent. Riley's breath came fast. The air was too heavy, too still. Something was wrong. Her chest tightened. "Kira?" she called out. No answer. She swallowed hard. Her voice was louder this time. "Sienna?" Nothing. Riley's hands curled into fists. Every nerve in her body screamed for her to run, but she wouldn't. She wasn't leaving without them. Whatever was happening, she was in it now. She took a shaky step forward, deeper into the house. And above her, something moved. A chill ran down Riley's spine. Something moved upstairs. A slow, deliberate step. Then, a voice. "Welcome to hell, Riley." She whipped her head up, and there was Sienna, standing at the top of the stairs, covered in blood. Her dress, once perfect, elegant, untouched, was now soaked, splattered in deep crimson. It clung to her skin, her face dripped with streaks of red. But her expression, calm, smiling, like this was exactly how it was meant to be. Riley staggered back. Her mind screamed at her to run, but then her phone buzzed violently in her pocket. A familiar red glow burned through the fabric. She ripped it out, and her stomach plummeted. The Omenex logo glowed against the screen. It had transferred. Kira was gone. And now it was hers. The screen flickered. Then, a new task appeared. Task. Die, bitch. Riley's blood turned ice cold. She gasped, her hands trembling. No, not like this. Not now. Her brain worked on instinct, her fingers fumbling as she yanked the enchanted paper from her pocket. She wrapped it around her phone, the parchment glowing faintly as it curled over the screen. The Omenex logo flickered violently, glitching, warping. It was weakening, almost sealed. Then, her phone buzzed one last time, a message barely formed. The text warping in real time, but it was for Sienna. "Kill her. Tear the paper." Riley's heart slammed in her chest. She looked up. Sienna was already charging down the stairs. Riley turned for the door, heart slamming against her ribs. She grabbed the handle and yanked. It should have swung open. She should have been able to run, but something stopped it. Some invisible force yanked it back, slamming it shut. Riley stumbled back, eyes wide. What the hell? That split second of hesitation was all Sienna needed. She reached Riley, her hands lunged, grabbing for the phone, for the parchment, for Riley. They collided. The impact sent both of them crashing to the floor. The phone slipped from Riley's grasp, tumbling away, still wrapped in the enchanted paper. Riley couldn't believe Sienna's strength,
Sienna gritted her teeth, fighting, but her strength was fading. Her body jerked, trembled. Omenex was trapped. The power he had given her was gone, but her hands still found the knife. They both did. Riley's fingers locked around the handle. So did Sienna's. The cold steel pressed between them, shaking as they struggled. Riley could feel Sienna's breath on her face, feel her body resisting, but losing. Riley gritted her teeth, using every ounce of strength left in her, and then, with a desperate shove, she flipped them over. Now she was on top. Now she had the advantage. The car rolled down the quiet street, slowing in front of Sienna's house. Her father sighed, rubbing a hand over his face. The Bluetooth speaker in his car buzzed with his wife's voice. "All I'm saying," she muttered, "is you need to stop letting your ex push you around." He gritted his teeth.
"It's not like I have a choice, Liza," he muttered. "She barely lets me see Sienna as it is." His wife huffed. "You need to fight for more time. She's your daughter, too." He exhaled, pulling up to the curb. "I know."
"Tell her you want full weekends at least. This once-a-month thing is ridiculous." "I know, Liza." He put the car in park, staring up at the house. Everything looked normal. Quiet. Too quiet. He sighed. "Look, let me talk to her. I'll call you later." "Fine. Love you." "Love you too." He hung up, stepped out of the car, and then he heard it. A scream. Sienna's scream. His heart stopped. He didn't think, didn't hesitate. He ran. Up the step, through the front door, and what he saw froze him in place. Riley was on top of Sienna, gripping the knife. Sienna was pinned beneath her, struggling. Blood was everywhere. Not deep wounds, nothing fatal, but enough to look bad, enough to look wrong. His brain struggled to process it. Then, his instincts kicked in. "Riley!" Riley's head snapped up, eyes wild, desperate. He didn't give her time to react. He grabbed her, yanked her up off of Sienna. She fought, resisted. "No, you don't understand." But he wasn't listening. He was already dragging her away. Sienna lay there, chest rising and falling. She looked defeated, but she wasn't. Not yet. Her fingers twitched. She turned her head, just enough to see Riley's phone, still wrapped in the enchanted paper, still within reach. Her hand crawled toward it. The parchment crinkled beneath her fingers. She pulled it away, and then she tapped the screen. Omenex flickered weakly. A message appeared. "New host. Sienna." She exhaled, smirking through the blood. "Looks like I'm going away for a while, Omenex." A long pause. The screen glitched violently. A final message warped into existence. "No. I'll fix this." Sienna's smile widened. Then the screen went dark. The sun was bright, warm, perfect. Sienna stood on stage wearing her cap and gown, top of her class, graduating with honors. The crowd clapped. Teachers smiled. Her father sat proudly in the audience. Her mother, gone. Riley took the fall for it, and for Kira's death. How did Omenex frame her? Who cares? Sienna certainly didn't. Her smile was effortless. She accepted her diploma, shaking hands, looking like the perfect success story. The girl who had everything. She stepped off the stage, slowly walking toward the parking lot. Waiting for her. A beautiful car. Her boyfriend leaned against it, keys twirling between his fingers. Sienna's heels clicked against the pavement. Then, her phone buzzed. She glanced down. A new message. From Omenex. "Check your bank account." Her fingers hovered. Then she did. The balance loaded, and there it was, $66,600. A final message flashed on the screen. "Have fun." Sienna grinned. She slipped into the car, closing the door behind her, letting her new life swallow her whole. The back alley smelled like money and desperation. Nate finished his deal, pocketing a thick roll of cash. He leaned back against his van, lighting a cigarette. He watched as Sienna's car peeled off in the distance. He had seen her before. She used to be one of Riley's friends. Now, she was someone else entirely. He exhaled slowly, watching the smoke curl in the air. Then, he walked to the driver's side of the van. His girlfriend sat in the passenger seat watching him. "That her?" she muttered. Nate nodded. "Yeah, He climbed in, turning the key. As the van rumbled to life, something became clear. The writing. The same ancient script from the enchanted parchment, carved into the back of Nate's jacket, painted in black across the entire van. Protection. A moving ward. Nate pulled out, merging into the night. The game wasn't over. Not yet. The mental institution was cold. The lights above flickered, buzzing faintly. Riley sat in the restrained chair, her wrists bound, her clothes loose. Thin, branded with an inmate number. Her hair had grown longer. Her eyes had grown darker. She stared at the man across from her. A black suit, neat tie. 2 others flanked his sides, one by each shoulder. He was calm. He studied her. Then, he reached into his briefcase, pulled out a recording device, set it on the table. Behind him, the 2 men set up cameras. Everything about them screamed government. The man clasped his hands together. He studied her for a long time. Then finally, he spoke. Now, tell me everything you told them. The end.